5 deputies in Reno County are investigating a case of animal welfare after 49 pets are found in a Nickerson home. They were called for a welfare check last week. When they got there were several cats, dogs, and other animals. Many of those animals are being treated for illnesses. Some of the animals were microchipped and their owners are being contacted. The animals have been taken to shelters in Hutchinson, Kingman, Great Bend, and Pratt.